backing out of the house right now. And wow, my mirror got hit. I need to adjust that. Safety first, of course. I'm backing out right now. And again, this will be another one of the drives home where I'm actually not driving home, where I'm driving away from home. Wave to the wife and kids. Also another dog out there. And then we're going to get right into our subject matter today, which is going to be a little bit more lighthearted than some of my previous episodes of Drive Home have been. As many of you know, I am former Army. And so I was actually going to do this over some Army terms. And among those of the most recognizable Army terms is the word Hooah. Now, the Marines have their own version of it, but in the Army, it is Hooah. So that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be focusing on that word. I might get into some other things. It depends on how I feel. If I want to keep going, I don't know. Whatever I want to do, I'm going to do. You know me. But the word Hooah, H-O-O-A-H. Now that's actually my old email that I don't mind giving out this email address because I don't use it anymore. Back when I first joined the Army, of course my name, everyone calls me Bob. Those that don't call me Woody, they know me as Bob. And so this was back before I got the nickname Woody. And so I joined the Army, and then I made my email address hooahbob@live.com. Now looking back, that's a little corny, a little cheesy, but hey, it is what it is. I do not apologize for it. Of course, I've got my dog here, and she's wandering around a little bit when what little bit limited capacity she has to wander. And so anyway, that word Hooah is amazing because it is one of those words that is totally and completely contextual. Someone says, "Do you understand? Hooah." All right? It means, "Roger, I understand." Walk by another soldier. Hooah. Simply a greeting. Hooah can be a greeting. It can be a Roger, I understand. I'm going to mess with something here. Hopefully it doesn't mess things up. Hopefully it makes it better. There we go. But it can be a greeting. It can be I understand. It can be an agreement. In fact, when I was deployed, okay, now those of you who go to church, and all churches are different, but I come from the type of church where people say amen. The preacher makes a good point, you say amen. Well, when I was deployed and I was helping out the chaplain with his religious services, no one said amen. They said hooah. In an auditorium filled with soldiers, the preacher would be preaching and he'd be like, blah, 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 hooah. And everybody would respond, hooah. So that was pretty funny. In fact, I'm getting sidetracked here a little bit, but back when I was still in, I came in and I spoke at a college, a ministry preparation school. And that's what I did, and they didn't know how to respond. I was talking, and I was saying something, and I said, blah, 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 hooah. And they just looked at me, and I was expecting a hooah back, and I look out at all these college-age civilians, and I just, okay, yeah, you guys don't get that, so never mind. And I had to get myself out of that habit, because it just, that's not something that's done in the civilian world. I've been out of the military for 3.5 years now. And just the other day, in fact, last Saturday, I said hooah to somebody. And I don't think they got it at all. They didn't understand, and I just left it at that. I didn't explain. They said, they asked me if I was ready for something. I answered, Hooah. And there's the fuel level. I'm going to have to stop and get fuel, it seems. But, so yeah, that's, it's one of those words that can mean, and it can also mean negative things. You know, if a sergeant's getting on to you, that's the great thing about it being totally contextual, because the sergeant can take it differently than you mean it. He's getting on to you, you're standing there at parade rest, he's chewing your butt, and, you know, he asks you something, Hooah, Hooah, Hooah. And, of course, to him, that means, right, I understand, Roger, etc. But to you, it means something totally different, you know. Bugger off. Let's say bugger off, yeah. To you, it means bugger off. And so that's one of the great things about the word Hooah. And, you know, I've never been a Marine, but I would imagine that the Marines' Hoorah would also be the same. I can't speak from experience, but I would imagine it's the same type of thing. But so that's one of the words that that you use in the Army. Now, one of the things that cracked me up, and again, I'm assuming that a lot of this is going to be military-wide, but I can only speak from my experience in the Army. But one thing that cracks me up, to this day cracks me up, in fact I was talking about it just recently, is that if you've been in the Army for a minute, it means you've been there for a while. You know what you're doing. You know, somebody tries to, you know, say something, hey, I've been in for a minute. However, if someone has been in since breakfast, that means they're brand new. Now, this has never made logical sense to me. I've been in for a minute, he's been in since breakfast. Okay, that means I have been in for a long time and he's brand new. However, assuming that breakfast was longer than a minute ago, the logical conclusion is that the person who's been in since breakfast has been in longer than the person who's been in for a minute. So that one has never made any sense to me. It makes none. But it's just the way it is. Just the way it is. And I understand it perfectly when someone says that. It's like, hey, we need to do this, and here's how you do this. Hey, I've been in for a minute. Okay, he's saying, hey, I've been in here long enough. I know what to do. Okay, good deal. Then, you know, someone else is trying to say, hey, I think we should do this. Hey, you've been in since breakfast. In other words, hey, you're not new enough to even have an opinion yet. Or you're too new to have an opinion yet, is what I should say. And so, yeah, that's always cracked me up, how that works out that way, how a minute is longer than since breakfast. But yeah, those are a couple of Army things. Now, this was not the intent of the video, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about service pride for a second. I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and talk about service pride. I was in the Army. I was a sapper in the Army. 12 Bravo, combat engineer. Hooah. So, in my mind, I am completely and totally and 100% convinced the Army is the best branch. I am completely and totally convinced that engineers are the best corps in the Army. I am completely and totally 100% convinced that the combat engineers are the best kind of engineer. And here's why. Is it because we outperform? Well, yeah. Objectively, we typically do. But is it because we can do things that others can't? Is it because, you know, we go out and do things outside the wire? Is it whatever reason? No. No. The reason is because if you are going out and you are going to face death, you had better believe that you are the best person, fire team, squad, platoon, company, battalion, brigade, division, corps, branch. You had best believe that you are the best. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do it. A Marine should believe that Marines are the best. And I should disagree. Okay, we got a bad connection. The very bad connection. Looks like we're back. Yeah, Marines should believe that the Marine Corps is the best. And I should disagree. Had a couple friends of mine a while back. They decided to join the military. And they told me that they were going to join the Marines. And I will be 100% completely honest. If that is what somebody wants to do, they want to join the Marines, more power to them. There's a friendly rivalry, but sometimes it's not so friendly, between, well, the Marines and everybody, between the Army and Marines. But at the end of the day, if I'm standing next to a Marine and we're in a firefight, I'm going to trust him as my battle buddy like I would trust somebody in the Army. And he is going to trust me like he would trust a Marine. That's the way it is. We bleed the same blood. We fight the same enemy. Anyway, so they told me that they were going to join the Marines. They had been to MEPS, which is the processing station, and they had already, signed the paperwork, and they were headed off to be in the Marines. And so I asked them, I said, hey, why the Marines? And they got all sheepish. And they said, well, they've got blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, the Army has that. And they said, well, they've got this. And I said, well, the Army has that. Well, the Marines have this. And I said, and the Army has that. Everything they told me, I was able to say, hey, the Army has that. And so I said, why the Marines? The answer I was looking for was simply because that's what we wanted to do. That's the right answer. If you join the Air Force, I'm going to make fun of you. That's the way it is. If you join the Navy, I'm going to make fun of you. If you join the Coast Guard, I sure as heck am going to make fun of you. If you join the Marines, probably not going to make fun of you, because Army and Marines, the Marines will never admit this. Army and Marines, so much alike. As a little sidebar here, when I was deployed, I talked to a Marine combat engineer. I'm an Army combat engineer. We talked about basic training. We talked about job training. We talked about training once we got to our unit after job training. Identical. We had the same job with the same training. Anyway, so going back to that, so I probably wouldn't make fun of you for being a Marine because you're basically Army, just with a worse name. But if you join another branch other than the Army, I'm going to make fun of you. That's the way it is. But I'm going to respect you. I'm going to say, hey, you're willing to fight. You're willing to volunteer. You're willing to get involved. You're willing to make a difference. Not only willing, but you volunteered for it. And another friend was going off to basic training. And they had a going away party for him. And everybody's telling him congratulations. And I shook his hand and I said, I am not going to tell you congratulations. I will tell you congratulations when you come back and you've graduated. That's my stance on it. Joining the military is a big decision. But joining the military is easy. Seeing it through, that is the hard part. At the time, and here's a funny thing, at the time, going through basic training was the hardest thing I had ever done. Looking back, it was a piece of cake compared to what else I had to do. Honestly was. I used to think it would be funny to go back through basic training after having been deployed a couple times. But anyway, so yeah. Anyway, if you join a branch that's not the Army, I'm gonna make fun of you. It's what happens. I'm gonna bring this back full circle to what I started talking about like 10 minutes ago, and that is a person was, and this person was former military. I do believe they were Army, and they were working at a gas station. And someone else came in and said they were military. And this guy said, oh, what branch? And they said Navy. And he said, oh, I thought you said you were in the military. Well, that's pretty funny. A little overused, but kind of funny. And the other person got butthurt over it. And that kind of brings me back to the whole thing where, first of all, you're going to get some ribbing. But you had best believe that you are the best. If not, I don't want you in the military. If you don't believe that you're the best, and in the best place, and the best branch, etc., etc., I don't want you in the military, because you are going to get people killed. Straight up. That's the way it is. You'll get people killed, because you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in your branch. You don't believe in what you're doing. So you're going to get people killed. You're not going to get yourself killed. That's the sad part. You're not going to get yourself killed. You'll get your battle buddies killed. You'll get the other branches killed. So you best believe that you are the best if you're going in. I had some family actually get mad at me for a while because they didn't understand. My cousin joined the Army. Proud of him for it. He only did his 3 years and got out. That's fine. He joined. He made it through basic. He made it through job training. He did his 3 years. He got an honorable discharge. I'm proud of him for it. And he'll probably never hear this, but hey, you know who you are if you're listening. In fact, I got another cousin that actually just made it through basic training, I believe, and I'm proud of him for that. Especially proud of him because this is the second time he's tried. He failed out the first time, had some issues, and left. But you know what? He made it this time. I'm proud of him for that. I hope he sticks through it. I hope he makes it to job training. And I hope we can expect some great things from him. But anyway, so I had this cousin, and he joined. He did his 3 years. He got out again. No issues with that. Proud of him for it. But he went on a deployment. But it was a fake deployment. And by that, and if you've been in the military, you know what I mean. But by that I mean it's called a deployment, but there's no real and actual danger. And so on Facebook they were talking about him being deployed, and so I made fun of him for it. I made fun of him for his fake deployment. And my aunt and uncle got ticked off. They did the whole, he's willing to serve, he's will, blah, blah, blah. Because they didn't understand. They didn't understand the jokes. They didn't understand the humor. They didn't understand the good-natured portion of this. I am proud of him for what he did. But they didn't understand what that really meant. They didn't understand that closeness, that brotherhood, that battle buddy sense that you have, where you know what's going on when you say that. And so yeah, they did not enjoy that at all. So that was pretty interesting anyway. Yeah, so so going all back to that, if you get offended by someone making fun of your branch, okay, let me double check those words. If you get offended by someone else in the service making fun of your branch, you just need to get out. You really do. You're insecure. Now, with that being said, a civilian, if I started talking to somebody who'd never been in, and they started making fun of my branch, or, whatever. If a civilian who's never been in started saying something like, oh, Marines are the best, Army is blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm going to get ticked off. If a Marine does that, whatever, he's a Marine. He's supposed to do that. If a Navy, a sailor does that, I'll just laugh at him because he doesn't know what he's talking about. If someone in the Air Force did that, again, I'd laugh at them because they get to fly in the planes and be safe all the time while we're boots on ground, actually doing work. But anyway, I've been talking for about 22 minutes now. I should probably stop this, pull over, and get gas before I run out of fuel. But if you've lasted this long, thanks for watching. I want to go ahead and say, check out my other videos. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I'm Sapper Woody, and it's been fun.